The hinterland of northern New South Wales is known for its fertile volcanic soil. It's what drew people to settle here in the late 1800s. By the 1920s and 30s, the region's dairy farms were supplying a quarter of New South Wales milk and 60% of its butter, all made possible by government land clearing regulations. But it all started with harvesting red cedar.
It was like red gold, they called it. So they took out all the red cedars that were hanging over the rivers because they was easy to get. And then they just moved into this whole area and took them out with bullocks and then carted them off to England for, it was like a gold mine.
The land was then made available to farmers on the condition that it was cleared. The impact of that regulation changed the landscape and decimated what is known as big scrub. Professor Maurizio Rosetto is the head of the Research Centre for Ecosystem Resilience at Botanic Gardens of Sydney.
The big scrub used to be the largest expanse of subtropical rainforest in Australia and some people say also in the world, in the southern hemisphere anyway. Unfortunately, most of it, because of its very rich soils and suitable location, was cleared very early in the piece, last century, in fact in the 1800s. And so we now have less than 1% of it remaining. That has a huge impact.
In the early 1990s, a group of locals in the hinterland of Byron Bay were trying to educate people about big scrub and restore the original rainforest. Dr. Tony Parks arrived in the area from Sydney in 1989 to discover there were just 80 small and scattered rainforest remnants left.
They were being inundated with an avalanche of weeds and their future was suspect. So the government was doing nothing, no level of government was doing anything really. So we got a group together and said, look, the community had better try and do something about this.
They started a land care group in 1993 to save the remnants by removing weeds and assessing improvements to the vegetation.
The cynical ecologist said to us, you're wasting your time because in these remnants, the populations of some of the key species are so small that they will inbreed and they will disappear.
That's when the group agreed Tony should reach out to Maurizio Rosetto. The professor told them to restore the rainforest properly, they'd need to do something big and new. It meant looking at the genetic diversity across the range of the important species, especially the ones that form the canopy.
Genetic diversity is critical because it's what maintains short-term and long-term viability. So in the short term, genetic diversity ensures that you do not have issues. If we wanted to do a comparison to humans, huge issues such as inbreeding. We know that if cousins marry, it might lead to problems. It's the same thing with plants.
Biological scientist Dr. Rob Koyman gathers the genetic material using a slingshot to shoot down leaves from the canopy to get the good stuff. I knew that you were coming in here to collect leaves. What I didn't know was that you would be shooting the leaves out of the air.
Yeah, well, leaves grow on trees and they're a long way up, so that takes a little bit of effort. We use a variety of methods to get at them, but a little handheld Shanghai for some of the intermediate stuff works quite well.
Rob enters the information into an app from the Royal Botanic Gardens in Sydney.
The same leaf material that I just collected out of the trees ends up in the envelope. The barcode I write on the envelope just to be doubly sure, and then that piece of DNA in the leaves is transported to Sydney, to the Royal Botanic Gardens, and ultimately for genetic extraction.
This is how the big scrub is being restored. Rob says it's possibly the biggest project of its type globally.
It's looking at how diversity is structured across the whole of the rainforest in Australia, with a view to getting the best of that material into growing areas, so that for seed production and for cuttings to supplement the restoration initiatives that the community and the government have commenced. So that's an extraordinary initiative and one of the coolest bits of science going on in restoration ecology in the world.
The Landcare Group knew it had to expand to achieve the results they needed, and the Big Scrub Rainforest Conservancy was established. Ecologist Mark Dunphy is co-founder and president, and Martin Brooks, a macadamia farmer, is vice president. Weed management was one of the largest issues in discovering and preserving the remnant rainforest.
Our place was a shambles. It was lantana, it was camphor laurels, it was boulders. It was a real sad place. And I remember we hacked our way in with these cane knives and we came across 2 or 3 really old trees.
The initial plan was to look after the remnants. So we realised that we've got to conserve what's there. And these remnants were being attacked by cows and weeds. And they were actually not just weeds that in your garden. These are weeds that go up over trees and kill the trees and then keep going. They can kill a whole remnant just by smothering. And so we had developed techniques. Through the start of the bush regeneration industry in Sydney, we developed this rainforest regeneration technique, which was exciting because no one had ever done it before.
Those radical techniques are now commonplace. That's cutting vines and using herbicides to control voracious weeds. The group then turned to regeneration to return the rainforest to at least a shadow of its former glory. With the help of scientists like Professor Rosetto and Dr. Koyman, the Conservancy's work is now being noticed internationally.
It's not only looking after what's left of our trees here, but with the new plantings that, you know, we're under auspices now where we planted like 3 million trees in the last 30, 35 years, and more people are planting, but we've got to make sure that those trees, right, are the strongest. And this sort of thing is happening all around the world, so we can take this science internationally. But we're so lucky in having these brilliant people we work with.
It meant looking further afield to find the right genetic material.
The problem, you know, was always the local provenance. You must get the seed from the local area and plant it back into the local. Well, that's all very fine if you've got a big enough population, but if you've got bugger all left, then you've got to actually get material from outside and stop inbreeding.
Gathering the right genetic material for replanting big scrub. I mean, it's a huge job, but they're doing it. Then creating viable cuttings and seedlings to go into the ground. Well, that's a job all of its own. Luckily, Mark owns a rainforest nursery. The team's latest project is replanting a 15-hectare parcel of land in the heartland of where big scrub once was. And they have big plans. Renee Burrow is the manager of Big Scrub Rainforest Conservancy.
We've got our living seed bank plantation here, and also we're going to be using that as an educational facility. So we have room for plantings around this lovely water body that we have here. It'll be an educational interactive walk that we can have students from schools, TAFE, university, coming and learning about the Big Scrub. The interactive walk will have Big Scrub story, also include the First Nations perspective as well, what the rainforest meant to Aboriginal people from the area, as well as what it means to them now.
Having local support is vital to the Conservancy's remit, and local businessman Noel Outerbridge has been more than happy to help out.
Well, look, I put me hat in the ring and look, certainly keen to work with them. It's something that I've done for a very long time, and preparing land for agriculture, or, you know, certainly removing certainly these type of trees, and keen to get the best we can out of the land, but certainly what, you know, the Big Scrub Conservative Trust are doing, it's just gold, and, you know, we need to work with them.
While the site is still being cleared, the work on replanting is well underway. The educational tours, however, are still a little way off, requiring more fundraising.
And once we get to that point, we will actually be bringing school groups here within the next year to be on the property, understand, walk around, see what the property is like now, and then we will continue to bring groups here year after year and see the changes over time.
The work to expand that remaining 1% of what was one of Australia's largest rainforests is not a task that daunts these dedicated volunteers.
I'm an enthusiastic amateur. I'm the only non-science person as part of this group. We're on this mission now. So this isn't just about saving and growing this subtropical rainforest in northern New South Wales. This is taking our message to the world.